Welcome to OG Foundation, capital of the sovereign state of Velodium. I am your host, Sovereign Non-Velodium, and this is episode 8 of season 12 here at OG Foundation. Right behind me is the state of the Molly Stark Tower, and let me turn this around real quick. So this floor section I put down yesterday, this whole middle kind of part, and I just watered that this morning. And now walking in here, it feels a lot more stable than before. So before I did this, you could really feel the tensile aspect of the floors you're walking. You can feel it kind of like giving away very slightly and relying on the steel for the strength. And there was a low spot where all of this is. And now that all that is in there, the compression helps to mitigate the tension so that as the metal wants to pull, it wants to sag and pull on the walls, the compressive force of the cement in the middle resists that. So it's a lot more stable here now, and you don't really feel the tensile effect. It feels solid in this whole area. So this is the remaining part of the floor. I intend to get a good bit of this all prepped today, and then probably get some mortar on it as well. My goal is going to be basically all of it if I can. If I put a 2x4 out in various areas, I can get coverage out to it. It requires a bit of kind of like acrobatics to do, and it's rather tedious because you're bending over the whole time doing metal ties, but I'm gonna aim for that for today, of getting coverage on the rest of the floor. And then with the metal that I have, I'm getting close to running out of remesh, but I'm gonna extend the remesh on this side here. I've got to pull that form there, and then I can get a piece of remesh which will tie in this piece of remesh on the side, as well as this bent piece of remesh which is coming from this banister. So I want to overlap both with a piece of remesh, even though I've already got one piece of rebar that overlaps both. I want the remesh to do it also. There's going to end up being a window in each of these 3 panels of the walls here, and it'll need a panel of remesh basically along the bottom of each as well, and that's about as much remesh as I have currently. So that'll be kind of like the extent of what I'll be able to do on that this week, and I'll be working towards that for this episode. Oh, looks like Minotauri over there is coming closer. Can you see him? He's running all around. Covered a lot of ground from when I started the video, from over to the shed to over here. Anyways, and then I might be able to start with the rebar to bring the rebar up and start to get like some arches and kind of dome shapes for what this structure will be like up here. And hopefully Minotauri can find his way back to his flock. Looks like Minotauri is storming the tower. He was up there, is looking to get into the courtyard, figure out where all those other chickens are at. What are you doing, Rooster? But on this side, he's closest to the barn, where you can see through the trees. That's where the rest of his flock is. If he can make his way back there. Oh, where'd he go? I don't know, I lost him. Friday morning. And the 2 chickies are doing good. Just gotta keep cleaning out their water. Ruh-roh. Looks like Minotauri is finding his way into the courtyard. Friday evening, after lots of back-breaking wire tying, I've gotten maybe 90% of that prepped. Just everything except for that back kind of corner. That was really hard to get to. So I am gonna make mortar now and get coverage on this. I couldn't get full coverage because I ran out of mortar, and there's a little bit up there that wasn't fully prepped, but this will be good, I think, for today. And then I got a good bit done on this kind of shaping this transition section between the arch and the flying buttress, and making its geometry a bit smoother and stronger, because it all becomes necessary as the weight increases. And now you can really see the chimney very clearly. Should be a central chimney hole. Saturday morning, here's what the undercoat is looking like now. In the last coat, I was able to get good coverage on that little arch spine type thing. And today, I'm gonna see if I can't prep that last bit of the floor over there, and maybe prep a little rise on this chimney, as well as kind of rounding the shape a little bit. and see how it goes. So after the first bucket, I filled up the last bit of floor, and now there's coverage on the whole floor. I just left a little hole there, just in case I want to run something through the floor ceiling there, like a pipe or wire or something. And then here I prepped this little rise for the chimney. I think that's about as tall as it'll go. And I'll get a bit of double coating on a lot of this, and then probably with the last bucket, I'll do some undercoating and get some better coverage on these forms here as well. So by the end of the batch, I got second coat on a lot of this stuff from yesterday. I got a first coat on that riser, and then I left like 3 open spots because I'm going to put some kind of things in there to be able to stabilize the chimney once there's a chimney pipe going through it. So that'll all be really good tomorrow, the next day, for being able to walk all the way around now. And I got a decent bit of undercoating as well, mostly focusing on that like spine there, which had a crack like right around there because it didn't have its tensile strength in the top yet. So having the mortar up on the top of it is what gives it the tensile strength for the top. And yeah, just kind of working the corners and just getting as much as I could with that batch on the undercoat. Basically, there's a lot left to undercoat under here, and the undercoating is the most difficult part of all the mortar, basically, because you got to work vertically, and when you've got unstable terrain, it makes it way more difficult because you can't just like move a ladder. You gotta, it's just difficult. So I've got the big carabiner type thing up there. I've got one more carabiner over here, kind of in that corner, and then a carabiner over there to be able to hang things from, and then 2 potential holes for wiring and or plumbing. And I'll get into a second batch of mortar probably after breakfast. I didn't get any on those forms there because I used all of it in the second, the above and below on the floor. This is the first time the chicks might come out. I just fed them all some banana peels. I let the banana peels age a day or 2 after I eat the banana, and then I dice them up, and the chickens love them. So Grizzly's coming out, or she's not sure if she wants to come out or if she wants to stay in and guard her chickies. But this is their first kind of interaction. She's staying in, so I'll probably close the door. It's like, uh-oh, you better stay away from that girl. Alright, I'll close the door for her. Really happy with how this has all turned out. I've just got to water this, the edge of it, and a little bit on it, and then plastic it. And yeah, I'm coming up with ideas for the next step. Not quite there yet. I think it'll be foundational. Saturday evening, 3 batches today. I guess this is your first shot of this tire foundation section, where the Molly Stark tower transitions to wall, and then meets with the wall there. And so this has screws all throughout the tires, like you can kind of see right there, those screws. And then it all gets mortared together, and there's rebar in there and steel, so that anchors it all down. So it's important to get a lot of weight connected to the steel and anchored to the tires. It just takes several batches to fill. But over here has had several more batches, and that's what it's looking like. A lot of the tires are starting to get covered and starting to connect with the Ferrocement up top, and also just connect all together, like in between the tires. All the spaces come together, where this one is largely filled out, and that one most of the way. But a lot more to do for the foundations. And then this side got a basically kind of like a finish coat on it, but the big stuff was undercoating. All of that got undercoated, so that was all the new stuff. So it bonded really well, and that'll get nice and strong over there. And then there's just that much left that still has the undercoating to do. And then the first batch went up top, but that's all for today. Tomorrow, all of this new stuff is going to be ready to be walked on. It's got the undercoat and the overcoat, and there's just one section right where I'm spraying right now that only has 2 coats, so it'll be a little more fragile, but this is pretty cool. Now there's 3 of them sitting on eggs. What am I going to do here? Sunday morning, so after this has cured overnight, I was just walking out there on it, but it has a low point, and it doesn't have drainage for that low point. So I just poured a whole bunch of water on it to get a good idea of where the low point is. And basically, well, you can see where the water is. So I'm going to start today by addressing that low point. And that might be a full batch, which will, basically, I think I want to get it to drain over to that corner. But it's kind of high on that corner, so it's going to take a good bit of mortar to get that resolved. Eventually all this should be enclosed, so it doesn't make that big of a difference if it doesn't drain super well, but it is best to have it drain, and so I'm going to address that first. So it's certainly not perfect, but after 7 buckets, so almost 2 full batches minus 1 bucket, it is draining both to that far end and to a hole right over here in the corner of the staircase there. So it is basically just about finished now. I could probably do like epoxy coat over this or something like that, but I shouldn't have to add too much more. That's quite a bit of weight, more than I really wanted, but it's got to drain. Grizzly and the chickies are out and about. Oh, don't get separated. So scary. Good job, Mama. So I've moved the tires from the little hill there, which are all stacked up against it, and found a good angle for that ladder with what's left of the hill to get up there and hopefully do a bit of undercoating. And then I developed a whole plan of what to do about this whole space, because it was largely undetermined what was going to happen, what I was going to do. So I've got a plan to dig up a lot of this dirt and put it into tires, and then move the dirt and build a loft that's open, and then a lower entryway that you enter from on this side, down at the bottom, as opposed to up there with that I was originally thinking. And that'll solve multiple problems, but it'll take me weeks to develop, but the vision is all coming together now, and I can get a good idea of what it'll look like. It'll just take a long time to make it all actually come together, but it's gonna be excellent, as great as this and better. So now we're getting into some earthship basics. We've got our sledge, our pickaxe, and a spade, and I'm gonna dig into the hill here and do about 3 buckets worth of dirt digging in, and then I'm gonna set the first tire, which is one that attacked me. So it's gonna be the foundation tire. It has screws sticking out of it. There's one here and one there, and I didn't know, and then there's one there. So I'm gonna put those up against the earth so they can't get me again. And I'll make it so that tires step up after the first one. So this will be kind of like the base tire once I dig it, cut in far enough, and then I'll build the next course on top of that tire. So tires cut in, and it's sufficiently level, leaning back into the hill just a little bit, and rocks for drainage and kind of keeping it in place. First tire is pounded, second tire is screwed in to the first tire very well, and then rocks are on the edges, and the second tire is ready for dirt. Tire number 3, screwed and rocked and ready to get dirt in it. And that'll probably be it for today. Monday morning, and this is all super solid now. Feels really good to walk on. Don't feel any of the tensile type bounce to it The only place I really feel that now is like over here where it hasn't been undercoated. But over there will probably be the majority of the walking around space in the living space. So it's really ideal. I got 2 little chickies and 2 goats. Where's your mama, chickies? Oh, mama's up there. Teaching those chickies how to navigate obstacles. So they kind of like were bedded down right in the middle of the aisle over here. Hey, boys. In between, right there on the ground. That's where the laying boxes are, and that's where also the roosting area, the insulated roosting area is. So they were right on the ground there. So I ended up picking them up and moving them into one of those laying boxes. So that's where they slept for the night. Uh-oh, they're separated. Gotta get those off. There we go. Come on, that's a fence, chickie. Can't go through the fence. And they're back out. What do you think, boys? Ready to go eat some tree leaves? Little chickies. I set up some forms on top, but then decided that I want to do some foundational work before I add more weight up top. So I've got screws all up in these tires, and then rocks as well. And then I'll come through, it's called porcupining, because once I come through and add the mortar, it makes a stone with all these screws sticking out and bonding with the tire. So I porcupined all of this. Use a great many 3-inch screws, especially like getting the sidewall like that along the edges. That's where you get the best bite of all. And I'll get a nice thick batch on all this, and then that'll help to anchor these tires into place and connect them. Here's what I meant about the forms. So I got remesh up around the corner, 2 more sheets, and then plywood and particle board scraps stapled to the remesh after strengthening the rebar, adding some verticals, and then doing a horizontal line of rebar that ties in from this side all the way over there. So I will need to do one more line of rebar somewhere around the top of that remesh, which will be underneath the level of the windows, and then staple the lath onto the form, sandwiching in the remesh and the rebar to get all mortared together. But I'm just taking a break before doing the foundational stuff first, because all of this weight will be on those side walls, and I just added a bunch of weight, and it needs to happen anyways, so best to do the foundational stuff before exacerbating the weight on that precarious kind of edge. Now there's 4 of them. There I got backups. I'm laying on 2 spots with two backups. Alright, boys. Time for sleep. Where's Han? It's on. Boys want some crack. Some cracked corn. So I also added this piece of rebar over here to basically, through tensile strength, anchor what's above it, what it'll get anchored into the tire structure. So basically bonding and connecting. So yesterday, with 2 batches, I got at least 3 applications on this inner foundational stuff. So there's pretty good coverage just after one day, especially, and I added some lath around that piece of rebar to be able to sort of connect it in. So it's pretty well connected in, and then it's just kind of loose up there. But just wanted to give you a shot of that before the first batch of today, where I'm going to get another application on all this foundational stuff. And then over here, this is, I don't know how many batches on this part yet now, but it's not providing really good structural support for the structure above. Still not enough to hold all the weight, but especially over here. This kind of lateral stuff here is what's mainly preventing the tower from falling towards me. That, along with the fact that the tires are leaning the opposite direction. But now with the tires all connected, and it at least sitting on the tires would all have to move together for it to be destabilized from all the weight on the outside edge, which it curving around the tire wall, and then the tire wall can only move as one. Then basically it's got too much friction and weight for the tire wall to move anywhere other than just like incrementally down or kind of downhill over like winter ice seasons basically. So I'm going to get this one more application on the foundation so I feel extra sure about everything not moving, and then I'll feel comfortable about going up with the tower, because after the walls comes the dome, and all that will be several tons. So I got to make sure that all that weight's just not on the one tire column, which is really heavy tires and wide, but it's still a limited number of tires with several tons of cement work on top. So once the weight's all spread out to the whole tire wall, then that's totally fine. So that's why I'm focusing on this right now before going up. So we'll probably another 2 batches today on foundational stuff, like yesterday. After several successive applications of mortar on this inside area, I'm feeling pretty good about it all being very well anchored together, as well as that piece of rebar being really well anchored all the way down into that little pocket there. And I'm already kind of shaping it to tie into this piece. So I'm aiming to get some good coverage on up there, and then kind of around the staircase, and then some undercoating in this next one. Got a good bit of undercoating, and just kind of strengthening that structural element right there. That's really important. Weight-bearing transition. Working out the geometry of it, and adding on into the convex surfaces, or concave, I guess. Also got good coverage on this part of the stairwell, so there's a second coat on all of that area where the form is, so I can pull that form tomorrow. And then where that form is, got coverage there, and then in all the holes just kind of threw mortar on, and just got some form of coverage for a first coat. Once this is all gets like a second and third coat, that element right there will be important structurally to basically this whole L of a wall will reinforce that whole section that goes over the opening there. And the way that it ties into the sidewall and then makes that corner with steel connected is important for the strength of all that. So code word, I'll have to add rebar. I'm actually farming boxwood elder, almost like someone might farm bamboo. But the boys love the leaves, and the boxwood elder grows like crazy. So every day when I need to get to work and put the boys down here in the pen, I go and lop off some branches or saplings of boxwood elder and then put it in here, kind of skewered on some of these blackberry stalks and other things. But there's lots of these branches in here that are just completely de-leafed, and the boys just go through a bunch every day, and then I just cut back a bit more of them the next day, and then they clean them all up. I'll burn the sticks. This girl needs help getting out. Sammy. So I've done a good bit of metal work. I've decided to make a countertop that is structurally integrated as a structural countertop that could at one point be a rampart for a future thing. So I've used rebar and I've pre-tensioned it so that it's quite pretentious, and tied it together and added it there so that it connects over there. And as you can see, that'll form a countertop along these walls here, which is the general idea. It's a bit high right now for a countertop, but I'm thinking I might just have to insulate the floor with 6-inch insulation panels, even though I don't really want to. It's looking like that might be the best idea to insulate this area, but I'm not entirely sure about that. But I also got a vertical piece of remesh there. I'm all out of remesh now, but there's still a good bit of lath and a number of things that I can do. And then I've got these forms and prepping most of these forms, except for that one that I have to get to from the outside. and then also prepping this area in here, the staircase on all the sides with forms and whatnot, and doing a lot of just kind of shaping of the metal. I've got a pretty decent idea of what I'm going to do in this area. I think I'm going to do a full glass door in this window with an arch over it, and then canted or off. Anyways, on this line, the door will be on the rebar line, and then it'll go up at that angle with a wall kind of like this wall here going up next to it, so that the angle to be able to see the door will follow roughly that line right there, because that'll be the edge of the glass door, and otherwise it'll just look like a kind of arched thing. So that arched opening will have to connect with the dome, and it's very complex, but I'm kind of envisioning it. And a lot of this brings together a lot of different aspects. I really like the countertop being structural, and I can get to mortar now and apply a lot of mortar. I just wanted to give you a before shot, basically, and I should be able to rock a lot of this in. It's Wednesday afternoon, and mortar is mixing. I've got the ladder all set up, and that section there above the window all prepped. Once I can get a coat or two on that, then I can move the ladder over to that section up there, which needs the lath on the outside in order to get those forms all prepped. But before that, I just gotta get that all cleaned up there. Well, it's all cleaned up and prepped, but applying the mortar does the equivalent of cleaning it up as well. So by Wednesday evening, I got some coverage on the two sides of there, coverage on those backs, on the backs of most of those two forms. Though the connectors there, and there aren't done. And pretty good coverage there. And then I just got to start on this first kind of structural countertop tie-in. And that's as far as I got with one batch. So tomorrow, hopefully I can connect a lot of the unconnected things, like those three sides, and or those corners, those gaps, and make some more progress on the countertops. That's it for today. It's Thursday morning, last day of the episode. I prepped some more lath on this kind of countertop type situation here, and gonna get some more coverage over here. It's kind of like raining right now, and hopefully it will be good enough, or the rain will be little enough to be able to do mortar. And I can get some second coats on those walls and some first coats on these counters. I also tied in another piece of rebar over here so that this counter right there has extra kind of reinforcement. It's a little sketchy because there's nothing like underneath, so it'll still all be on tensile strength, but I pre-tensed all of them. That last one isn't as pre-tensed as the rest, but you can see that they're in line with each other, despite the fact that over here we're taller than over there. So the arc there brings that in line, and then this support helps support that other one, so it doesn't sag there, and they stay roughly even. And onto mortar. So by Thursday evening, got pretty good coverage on everything but the top foot of that wall. I got a good bit of like bridge in between those two forms, and then this wall got it the best. But it was the latest that I mortared it, and there should be rain coming. And over here I should have enough coverage to kind of get some good structural aspects and work off of that for the next time. And I think I'll just do some metal work now. See about finishing this wall section with lath and this countertop section with lath. Didn't end up getting any more on this. I didn't really want to do any horizontal surfaces if it rains, but I got a good bit down on the foundations, so that's always good. Thursday evening, we got some rain, and it turns out I didn't do as good of a job as I thought on this whole drainage situation here. There's up to a ½ inch in spots before it really gets to that drain over there. So I'm trying to decide if I should add more water there so it drains better. So not exactly an ideal outcome. I got mortar in up to there, and then there's a line like there to there. So it looks like it's sufficient in this quadrant, and then just in that quadrant there wasn't enough mortar, and so there's standing water there. But I'm not going to mix another batch and try to apply it today. It's super hot and humid, And I'm just going to let this cure. I don't even know if it's going to rain again, and leave it like that for now. And I guess that's all for this episode. I'm going to do a little bit of metal work, but thanks for tuning in.